What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Gold Rush Weekly Watch List. Forgive the technical difficulties that led to some really bad audio issues last week. We are back. Full week this week. There is some volatility events. We do have 8 Fed events this week. So expect a lot of volatility along with PPI inflation data coming out towards the end of the week. So going to be a tough week to trade. I think this week either look for something that's doesn't really care what the Fed needs to say. So like some inflation proof names. If you have them, let me know what they are, because I don't know what they are. I think everything is subject to it. Otherwise, I would just be very quick with taking your profits. Be very calculated with your entries and very quick with taking profits off the table. So let's go quickly into the indices, and I'll go into some of the tickers that the community wants to look at. So first one's SPX. Right now I see that we kind of let me close this. We forced the new high, and then we kind of fell hard into fill some of these gaps here on the daily chart. Now SPX put in a really strong bearish hammer on Friday, right? It opened up here, it filled the gap from the previous day. It actually gave us a really nice move on Friday, right? If you look at Friday, it was kind of it formed an island here on Thursday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday we kind of opened down below, bounced, found where all the volume was for the previous day, and then just ripped to the upside and filled the gap almost to the penny, right? You can see where the bottom of that wick is, over to the left, and then fell pretty hard, right? That being said, we do have the 20-day sitting right there as potential support. We do have this previous level of resistance here that acted as support once already. It might act as support once more, you know, depending on what's going on. It's 43.98, or sorry, 43.9270. So I really want to see 43.90 kind of hold up as support on the 30-minute chart. But so those are the levels that I want to see kind of SPX hold on to. Now let's just switch over real quick to ES so we can take a look. I think ES to me is much more clear. It's showing a potential double top, right? We have this top here where it rejected, pulled down hard, came back to the area, retested it, consolidated right on the previous rejection area, and then fell down hard. Now, if it doesn't hold up here, you know, and we're currently bouncing right where there was previous resistance in the past, right? See all these wicks here, we're kind of bouncing in that area. But if for whatever reason we can't recapture this high, or even if we retest it once more and we don't break out through it immediately, I think we're going to fall back down to this 50-day moving average. We do have this very small gap to fill over here on ES. And I believe the gap is there on SPX as well. So, not really, but it's still there on ES, and on ES on SPX we have this one here. So I would love to see this actually pull back down to the 50, just to kind of give us some cheaper premiums to the upside. Puts usually pay much faster, so you can take the nice plays to the downside. But we'll see. I mean, again, our job is to analyze what can happen and prepare for what actually does happen, right? So we'll see what happens, and we'll play whatever side we need to. Next one's QQQ, doing the same thing, right? Kind of a double top here. The 20-day might act as support the way it did back here, as well as back here, right? You know, if not, then I want to see QQQ kind of break and form a strong candlestick in this area here, right between 364.42 all the way down to 357.50. I want to see that area get filled up with volume. Maybe we get that double bottom on that line, right? So, and again, that would be contingent on what happens off this 20-day moving average. Now, if everything kind of holds up within Friday's price and climbs higher, then, you know, we'll take whatever we can. The only thing is, this is a very clear supply zone sitting here at the QQQ high of 2023, and you know, so I don't expect there, if it does trade in this area, I expect it to be very choppy the way it was the past couple of, you know, last week, those 2 days last week, and so a clear direction will be for it to go down, right? And then I would kind of give bulls some strength to you know, give bulls a little chance to catch their breath and maybe jump back in down here, or even down here at 352.78ish. So that's QQQ. Next one's XLE. XLE broke the rising trend line. Let's go to the weekly on this. Okay, so we got this rising trend line support here. You know, it opened up below on this week and closed above it, retested it both times here, failed it on this week, gapped up above on this week, and now we kind of held it on this week. So we're still holding that trend line. Now, I want to see if it's possible for XLE. Let me just get rid of all these. There's too many levels here. I want to see if it's possible for XLE to, and what it needs to do in order to have strength. I mean, it really needs to get above the high of the week right there, which is right at the 100-day moving average. Above that 100-day, we can target that 200-day directly, straight away, right away. There, right? So above that 81.97, we got 84.12 incoming very, very quickly. Now, XLE moves with a lot of macroeconomic factors, so it's not like, oh, there's a nice technical setup, let's just buy it, you know, or even like a company's reporting earnings, so we're gonna just jump in or whatever the case. It's not really like that, you know. You need to have a good gauge of what's going on with the natural gas, with the oil supply, with just the prices of energy in general. They're constantly changing and manipulating the prices of energy so that things can be favorable for the public, as well as the companies that own the energy companies, right? So just pay attention. XLE, I usually never play XLE. Usually, if there's something in XLE, I usually find XOM plays or Oxy plays. They typically like to pay the best. But that's what's going on with XLE right now. XLF. If we're looking at XLF on a weekly real quick, we do have same thing, kind of a rising support line on the weekly. That's been at play and been holding intact for, it looks like six weeks now. It's touched that level, and we're well above it at this point. So I see more upside. Now we do need to close above this this pivot level at 33.83. You know, we did have a nice close on it, above it on this day, on Monday, but we really need like a strong close with a full candlestick forming above this level for this to try to recapitulate and take some of these, you know, undo some of this candlestick here, which is really my goal for XLF. You know, so above that, and we're already above the 200-day. You know, we were above the 200-day actually last week, and we failed it a little bit on Friday. So the most important thing would be to recapture that 200-day moving average, which it looks like it wants to based off this hammer right here, this doji. Recapture that 200-day moving average, take out this pivot, and then we got 34.29 as the first target, and then 34.82 as the next target, right? And then above that, 35, and then et cetera, et cetera. Let's go into some of these names. CRM. So CRM, last time I talked about it, I had found this wedge pattern forming on it, and it looks like, you know, we had the range of these two candlesticks, the high of this candlestick and the low of this candlestick, that need to kind of break down. We did break down on Thursday. We tested previous support here, and then we bounced. Friday, we opened, tested some highs, and then came back down, right? And the whole market pretty much looks like this one candlestick on Friday. So, you know, it really depends on what's going to happen tomorrow, you know, how the open goes and what happens tomorrow. But I can easily see this going down to the 50-day moving average and the 50-day acting as support. Now, if you want to play puts on this, and I've never played CRM puts in my life, so I don't know how they move, right? I've played CRM calls, and CRM calls pay nicely whenever you get like a nice candlestick like this. I assume that the puts do the same. I don't have the experience. The reason why, I mean, typically it won't matter, but CRM is not like it's not a very, the chains aren't full of activity that way. So you don't get too much, you get a little bit of loose chains. Volume and open interest can vary depending on the expiration and the strike, but it's not like something like QQQ where you can just jump in and you know there's going to be volume. You know, CRM, I feel like the put side doesn't have crazy volume, and we can check. I'm actually looking at my phone now to take a look at. I just want to see, because, you know, if you did want to play the downside on it, it really has to make sense. You want to have like tight spreads. You want to have, let me see. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad. The 207.50s, and most of them, 207.50s have an 8-cent spread. The 205s have a 6-cent spread. The 202s have a 5-cent spread. All right, so it's not that bad. And then as you get further away from at the money, the spreads get tighter, which is interesting. I've never seen that before. So if you're interested in playing puts, I would play maybe like the 207 and a half, which are just at the money. That'll bring you into the 50-day moving average. Those contracts are between $1.77 and $1.85 bid ask on the put side. And if you want to play calls, I would let it fall down and find resistance here, find support here, and then potentially try to bounce from this level or get above not only this line here where I have at 209.92, but really you see that tiny little green bar right there. I need it above that level. That's 210.50. That tiny green bar is the concentration of volume for the day. That's what that is. So, I want to see today's price trading above yesterday's price. I want today's volume point of control trading above yesterday's volume point of control. You see like how high, this is where all the volume is concentrated. So when you see all the volume concentrated at the top here and you see this wick push it down, that means that there might be all sellers in control and they might bring the price down the way they did here. So it's just an area of interest. If you do want to take it, I would take calls, either let it come down and then let it do like a kind of a reversal pattern, or find support at this lower level where that 50-day moving average is right here. Not very far. I can easily just give you like 2 candlesticks down here, 2 15-minute candlesticks, 2 20-minute candlesticks, 2 3 or 4 10-minute candlesticks, whatever the case is, and then work its way back up. I would like that. Otherwise, I want to see this. Let me go ahead and put it here. You see that green line there? That's where all the volume was for the entire day, from pre-market all the way to aftermarket. So we need above 210.72 in order for this to kind of, and then you got the 20-day moving average right there, which might act as resistance the way it did here and here, right? So realistically, I mean, this would be a risky entry. The safer entry would be let it break and form a candlestick like this above the 200-day, and then another green candlestick above that, right? And then from there, let it continue, and then you can kind of take your call entry there. Otherwise, this can go in either direction. We have the 50-day, the 20-day. Those are the 2 things that are going to kind of dictate where it goes. If it rips to one, maybe try to look for an opposite play in the other direction, right? Rips to the upside, might be look for a play that rips to the downside. So, but I like CRM. It's playing nicely with the price action right now. Like, it's just forming good price. It is going sideways, but it is consolidating and getting tighter. You see, like, this was a big move. We had a big move, 3 dojis, big move, another doji followed by another doji, and so price is trying to break out. That's a really good sign. Even with these red candlesticks here, these black ones, sellers are in control, but they're not bringing the price way down, right? They're not doing what they did on this day or on this day or on this day, right? They're in control, but they're just keeping price exactly where it's at. So it can really be anybody's fight, but to me, I think that it looks like it wants to be bullish, especially with all of these higher lows here. We have these lows, this one's higher, that one's higher, and these are higher. So I think that's good for CRM. I think we have more upside for CRM. Next one, Zscaler. Zscaler kind of looks like an AMD chart to me right now. Zscaler has some support in this area, right? A little bit of indecision on this day, bounced up, came back to that level, little indecision, bounced up, came back, buyer stepped in and kept this price above it. And then we have almost an inside bar. What's the high of this? 144 and 140. Yeah, so we did break the range to the upside, but I think this is a good level of support. It feels like every time, and now, let me just invert scale. You see there's now, so now the numbers go down as you go up, right? Just flip the chart. There's a potential cup and handle right here. Cup, there's your handle, and there's your possible continuation. Triple tap, right? Whatever, however you want to call it, into a gap. Potentially, right? See, let me just flip it so that we are not confused. This is a downside cup and handle, potentially, right? We have basically this high and the lower high, and we have this support that can easily break down into this gap. So that's my thing about like kind of support and resistance. You do have support here. It's proven to have buyers like it here at this level a bunch. But what if you come back, like what if like there was like 100 buyers here, and then there were 75 buyers here, and then there were 50 buyers here, and then 40 buyers here, and then 20 buyers here. And then it comes back and there's 10 buyers, and then there's 5 buyers, and there's no more buyers, and then it just falls down, right? So that's the only concern with that. You know, this is also very confusing because like this is a red box where price keeps bouncing. This can easily be a supply zone or a demand zone based off of this move, and every time it bounces, but I don't think it's that strong. I just want to kind of color it as a gap so that we know that it's a gap, and price can easily break down into this gap very, very quickly. More opacity there. Okay. So off of the 30-minute, you see where all the volume was kind of concentrated towards the high of day, and it couldn't really get above that line. So that's going to be the level to take when you want to buy calls. You know, maybe the safest entry would be probably like 144, right? Which 144 looks like it was the high of day. Yeah, 144 was the high of day. So I would take it above break of high of day, break, form a candlestick above that line, right? Maybe break, pull back, form a candlestick here, and then continue into the 20-day. And if we break down below, you know, this level here or so, there's a potential for it to continue to move down, right? To form a new lower high potentially, right? Come down, break down below this level. Let me just draw the path out. Test, bounce, breakdown, retest, bounce, higher low, right? Something like that. Maybe. I do want to see it interact with this line before it goes up. I don't want to see it just rip to the upside. I like when things kind of come down, test, and then bounce. So I would be watching that 141.55 for a retest of what it did on this day. And again, just retesting previous resistance over here once more. And then once it does that, it can go and try to make its way to the 20-day moving average. Now, if it does fall down, it can easily, again, fill this gap down. I would take it at the break of $140.16. This level here, take it at the break there, and then take it down to 137.50. It might be a 2-day play. Right, it might be a 2-day play to get all the way down there. It might be 1 day, depending on what's going on with the with tech and with that sector overall. And then the final target for that play would be 135 for a downside. So realistically, I wouldn't take anything underneath the high of day. And then the target for that would be the 20-day moving average, maybe a 2-day play for Z-scaler. And then if you want break of the low of day would be a risky entry. Break of 140.16, which is support here, would be a more secure entry, and then just take that down to 137, 150. Oh, sorry, 137 and 135. Next one is Google. So I didn't like it last week or the week before that, but I do like where it's at kind of now. Price, price was way down here. Price came way up here. You see where that blue dotted line is. I drew my Fibonacci on that move, and it's just been consolidating in between these two, the 786 fib and the 50% fib, just bouncing back and forth. Getting tighter and tighter. So now we're letting the 20-day kind of come down, the 50-day kind of come up. I feel like, these two moving averages are causing a wedge. And if we can hold above this 618% moving average, which I can't tell what the number is right now, but let me see. 119.25, let's call it. 119.35. If we can hold above 119.35, I see a continuation to the upside. The 20-day is going to be the first major point of resistance, right? Major point of resistance. Next one's going to be this top of this wick here. If you look across my crosshair all the way to the left, you see that it tapped on this level This level is formed as support and resistance, like I think like 10 times at this point. If you just look across the crosshair, right? Let me get rid of some of these levels actually. There. My fib. All right. So, and I'm gonna go ahead and draw the target, which is right there. You know, so you can take your entry maybe at the break of high of day, or you can take it at the 20, and then you got your target, which will be that 122.65. Above that 124, and then above that we can try to, you know, we can try to undo this head and shoulders that formed on Google. You know, I think that everything, the whole market looks like this on Friday. I think that it was like some euphoria coming in from the beginning of the week and then some pullback at the end of the week. It was just like kind of undoing the price for the week, right? So on a short week. So I don't think that this is too much of a big deal. Now, if it doesn't hold this, we got the 50-day moving average. And if it breaks down below the 50-day, we can target that 116.38. Google does pay. It does give you nice downside days. So really, let's just see what happens at the range of the day. I'm going to set an alert to the high of day. And then that'll kind of alert me to throw it on the chart and make a, you know, look at it and make sure that it's setting up nicely to break through that 20-day moving average. And I'm also going to set an alert at the low of day. It's just a very nice setup. You know, Google has like good defined risk reward to the upside and downside. I have clear levels that can act as support. I have clear targets. You know, the first target at the breakdown will be the 50-day. Second target will be I will go straight for that 116.38. And then above the 20 into this pivot, and then into that 124 for Google. Very, very nice setup. Next one is Marvell. Marvell has a falling wedge that's forming right now on a daily. You know, I had my support level a little bit higher. I had it like up here somewhere, 59.25 or so. But bouncing around, bunch of support down here. We are fighting the 20-day moving average, so that's our the first area where we need to kind of break out above. I would just take it at high of day. Above that, we got 61.20, and then above that we got $62, and then above that we got $63. That might be a 2-week play to reach 63. And then, you know, very, very simple. I mean, underneath that, you can probably play it back to that concentration of volume on Thursday's candlestick. This green line right there. Let's go to 30-day. 30-minute. Where is my, I don't know where it is. All right, just draw a new one. Below low of day, like you see kind of like a, you know, kind of a cup forming, and then potential handle, downside break. I would play into this green line here, the previous day's volume. There might be some support there, especially since it kind of went sideways on it and then bounced. Might be some extra support there. And then below that, we do have 56, whatever this is, 56.69. And then underneath that, I think we have this massive pre-market move that can easily be undone back into the 50-day moving average, right back to 52 and change. I don't really see it going back down. If it was going to come back down, it would have done it. It would have done it on this move here, or this move. Instead, it bounced. And you know, if you zoom out, you do have like kind of like a rounding bottom with a handle. This is a massive cup and handle. So if I were to do the weekly, you see very, very clear cup and handle. And I think Marvell has just been chopping around a bunch because it hasn't really been at this price in a long time. It's consistently stayed. If you look all the way to the left of the screen, it stayed above that pivot there. You know, this one here, and it's been holding it for the most part pretty well. So if we can continue to hold it, then we got a little bit of gap up here to fill right here, and then we have this pivot ultimately to test at $76. But again, the first thing I started with this is a falling wedge. Falling wedges are very bullish. So let's see if we can continue the good vibes to the upside, but it really will take for Marvell to take that 20-day moving average out, that blue line, and then break these local pivots, right? 1, 2, 3 as a start, right? But I do like it. And if we do get like a massively, like a crazy red day in the market, in tech, which can easily happen with the Fed speakers this week, then this can go back to the 50-day at $52 with ease, right? Very, very quickly. So just keep that in mind. Next one is SoFi. SoFi, let's see. Well, I'll give you a technical setup on SoFi. I'm not in love with it because it's like it's an $8 stock right now. You're not gonna get too much, like you need these things to move dollars, a couple dollars, $5, $10 in order to make some money. But if there's a setup, there's a setup. All right, so what do we have? We have kind of a head and shoulders, upside down head and shoulders here. Here's your shoulder, there's your head, there's your shoulder. All that means, and again, like, let's just call it what it is. Price came down, formed a low. Buyers brought it back up. Price came down, formed a lower low. Sellers are in control. Buyers brought it back up. Price came down. Sellers are in control. Buyers didn't let it get as low as it did before. Strength. Show of strength. Big, strong move. 4 weeks, 5 weeks in a row. Strong move to the upside. And now it's kind of flagging, right? So you do have a nice little bull flag on it. Inverse head and shoulders. Bull flag. Cup and handle. However this makes sense to you. At the end of the day, sellers had control. They couldn't bring it down as much as they might have wanted to, especially on this second move, on this third move rather. They did have control here, and then it kind of just like ripped after that. So strong move up, little pullback just because we haven't been above this resistance in a while here. We actually broke above the neckline. I'm gonna draw with a box because it's kind of all over the place. There's your neckline. See, price came back to this level 1, 2, 3, 4 times before breaking through, and now it's kind of testing it as support. So if we hold this channel, hold these levels, hold really the most important level, I would say would be this one here. Hold that level, 771. It can really break out and get to 10 pretty quickly. Underneath that 771, I would think it would want to retest this previous level of balance here, $7, 707, and by that time the 50-day moving average will kind of catch up to it. So I wouldn't play too far to the downside. I would think that it would find some support in this area here at $7.03. And then if it does find support at the bottom of this channel here, then your first target is going to be the 20-day moving average. Above that, you got this pivot, and then above that, you got the high at 1023. And then if you want to project a future move out of this, let's see. Ultimately $13.80 is on the table. So, right. And this is sitting in the same place where a lot of these tickers are. If you run fibs on them on swing low, swing high, you got that 618 fib that can act as potential support. So good support, rip to the upside. Weak support, rip to the downside. For SoFi. Next one is Visa. I like the weekly on Visa. Visa is tough to trade. I have a funny story about Visa. I'll save it for another day, but Visa is very, very tough to trade. Visa is actually, I almost lost my first ever trading account on Visa, and I took a big risk and I made it back, thankfully, on like a 0 day. It was crazy. It was like the craziest trade I've ever done, and I would never make that trade again, considering what I know now. But Visa is very tough to trade. It goes, makes moves every once in a while. Like this is a nice move to the downside, and then it gets very choppy. You see like 4 weeks of chop, then big strong move to the downside, continuation, strong move to the, and then, but it's just tough. Like I wouldn't want to trade it on this week, these couple of weeks here. I wouldn't want to really trade it on these couple of weeks here. On these couple of weeks, it's just very tough, very, very tough. Now, where it's at now is, I think there's a clearly defined area where price kept rejecting, right? Price rejected this line a bunch of times. And 2 weeks ago, we ripped through that line. And then last week, we came back and tested it as potential support, which it looks like we might have found. So go to daily. So as long as Visa holds that line, 233.67, I think it's like I don't mind it pulling back to it again. I don't mind it pulling back because it hasn't really like it kind of ripped on it on this one, you know, closed above it, couple sideways days, opened on it, and then ripped immediately. I wouldn't really consider that a retest. I wanted to like form a, you know, a red candlestick that comes down to it, form another red candlestick that fails to break it, form a green candlestick that looks identical to the red candlestick right before, and then form another green candlestick to rip to the upside. Like that's how I like to play these retests. I wouldn't really count that green candle there, but we do have a pretty strong pivot here that I would like to get above for this to continue to the upside. And then we got this pivot here, which would be the first target, 242.18. And then the ultimate target, I'll give you actually before the ultimate target, let's give you the next target, which is 246.76. And then the final target would be what looks like it might have been the high of last year or 2021. So this is all-time high, 252.67. We're not very far from all-time high. And then you got like, you know, head and shoulders, upside down head and shoulders, price slowly working its way down, and now buyers are in control, slowly trending upwards, making higher highs and higher lows. So Visa is very, very nice. It actually looks a lot like JP Morgan's chart, which makes sense. But yeah, I want to see, and then let's go to the 30-minute just to drill down a little bit more. Now we do have really strong support here with the 20-day and the 50-day and the 100-day sitting right there. The last time we were at the 20 and the 50 and the 100, we kind of went sideways a bunch and then we gapped up out of it. So I feel like if we come back down to that 20-day moving average at 230, that we will potentially bounce from there and then work our way up. And now you see like some of these targets are not so far-fetched. 250, 284 is just right there, right? You can put in like a nice strong trend week in Visa and get it. Visa does have this falling resistance line that it's kind of working against right now. But as you can see, there's a bunch of support at this level, and even like when they rip it down, it always makes its way back up above this level. So this is a key level. We want to see it hold this level at the beginning of the day. Let me just make this a little bit easier to see. So right, every time it kind of it's like this level's like a magnet, right? So we want to see it break above this 236.96. We want to see it break above this concentration of volume on this green line at 237.35, and then we want to see it break that falling resistance line and try to retest 239.47. You know, all these pivots here ultimately to get to 240, and then from 240 we can see to 242. Visa, I find best you buy, you know, if you don't catch it on the right week, then you'll lose a lot of money. But if you catch it, if you want to be in a better position to win playing Visa, I would just buy a little bit more time. You know, buy just if you want to play this week, like if you want to play like 3 days, 3 days worth of a trade to get back to 242, I would buy next week's 245s or 250s or something like that, just to give yourself enough time to capture, or next week's 240s, right? Just to give yourself enough time to capture the move and not really be stressed out if it does give you like a couple of pullback days. The theta on Visa is a bitch, so that's that with Visa. Let's see. Okay, let's do Lululemon. Let's see. This one has been very difficult to trade. That's why I don't really find. I mean, JCat has a good. He's got a good gauge on this and how it moves. But I mean, look at how it gaps and then it fills gaps and it comes back and does all this. It's just very tough to trade. Right now it's underneath the 50-day, underneath the 20-day. I want to see Lululemon form a higher low. You see this low down here? I don't want to see it retest it. I want to see maybe pull back to this 356.63 at the very max, right? And then from there, kind of try to work its way up. Underneath this line here at 363.74-ish, we can break down easily, fill this up with 1 day, and maybe come back down to that 50% in the next day or two. So I'm looking for a retest of that, especially with there's kind of a double top here, lower high kind of situation. You know, double top over here, failed triple tap. There's a bunch of big resistance up here that's bringing price way down, forming higher, lower highs. But if we can hold this 50-day until some of these moving averages catch up to it, these bigger ones, then or 50% rather, then I think that there's more upside for Lulu. For perspective, let's look at the 2-week. So every time we've come up to this area in the past, we failed, right? In this area, fell hard. Came back to it, consolidated around it, 2 weeks, fell hard. Finally ripped above it after a week or 2 weeks of consolidation. Tested it once, twice, 3 times. Came back down to it, formed a 3-bar play, flushed down, came back. So like obviously clear level. And I'm actually gonna change the color of this line because that white will get lost. Let's make it that one. 384.05. So I need Lulu to hold 356. What is it? 356.39 ish, and then we want to try to retake that 384.05 ultimately, maybe in a month or so, right? Just print another candlestick that goes up, right? Another candlestick that goes up and kind of fills the gap, fills the range of that past 2-week candlestick, and we can easily try to retest it. If we do, we have a nice cup with a handle with a nice potential breakout. Good breakout will give us 400 very quickly. Above that, we got 450. Above that, we got 485. Very, very quickly. But it really depends on what's going to happen with this price action within the next couple of weeks. You know, if it just goes sideways a couple of weeks, very, very strong potential for it to move to the upside. What did I do? Why am I on Apple? That's Lulu. Crocs. No man's land. Right now it's wedging. It needs to get out of the wedge. I don't like sideways. You know, these tight ranges are kind of tough to play. You don't really know what's gonna happen. You think you see the breakout, but really there's nothing going on. I mean, there's nice little gap to the upside here, above 113.50. And then we have the bottom of the wick to fill here down to 108.92. So either way, you can take that trade if you like it. Crocs, let me look at Crocs chains real quick. I remember, and I think they have earnings in a couple of weeks. Yeah, they have earnings on the 20th, which is next week. So let me just look at Crocs options chains real quick, and then I'm gonna rip through a few of the names that I want to look at this week. Not revisit all of them, just a few of them. Next week, the 21st, 100 and yeah. The thing with Crocs is you don't get too much volume and open interest, but like 113 calls for next week are $3.60, and price just has to undo the wick, the upper wick, you know, and you made a 50% play, right? Looking at this week, not too much volume and open interest, but again, the premiums are not that bad. $2.30 for this week's 113 calls. So, you know, at that point, I would just buy next week. I would pay the extra dollar for the extra week. But I would let it pick its direction first. Right now, it's like stuck between, you know, it's like within the range of this candlestick, or within the range of like kind of like the middle of the wedge. You know, let it decide where it wants to go first, and then jump in. Just follow the continuation of the move. What I would do is I would take it above the break of this move. You know, I would take calls above 118.65. I would take puts below 105. I wouldn't even try to trade it within this area, even though it does give you nice moves. Like it give you like from 107.21 all the way to a high of 117. $10 move in 4 days. Not bad, right? But you might not get lucky as someone who traded it these 4 days, right? You might get something like this where it kind of just goes sideways a bunch for 3 days in a row, right? So that's Crocs. Where is my list? It's over here. I guess I could just go through this list quickly. We did Marvell. Nvidia. Nvidia needs to take out high of day. It looks like it wants, you know, it's looking like it's giving me a potential cup and handle here. Sideways. Take out that 425.70. Let's go to 30 minutes. Let's take out that 425.70. Hold it and then from there, you see there's a bunch of support sitting in that area right there from these two candlesticks. Hold it, and then from there we can try to take back 428.20 and then go to 430. Right now it looks like it's bear flagging, strong move downside, not a big move up, especially with, you know, it's pre-market, so you can't really tell, but potential, if it doesn't undo 50% of that move, it can really fall back down and undo all this price. Let's go to the 1 hour on this real quick. Yeah, so underneath 424.71, we got 422.20, where there's previous support. It broke down on these few days, but it might stay intact. So I would take it down from 424.71 down to 422.20, and then underneath that you can play it back to the 406 level, right? Break this down 414, down 406. Again, stuck between the two fibs, the 786 and the 50% fib. It's kind of a nasty place to be. You know, this is the golden retracement zone, but it doesn't mean it's easy to trade within that zone, right? Let me just run a fib on this. Tesla looks like it wants to fill that downside gap. I wonder if like threads is going to affect Tesla. Right, so we have that. We are holding support at 786. Underneath that, we can fall pretty hard to that 61% fib, and then underneath that, we got the 50% fib, which will fill the gap. So I like Tesla for downside. If we do get some down day in the market, you know, the Fed says they're gonna raise whatever the hell happens, dollar weakness, whatever they're gonna talk about, might bring us down into that 260, 248, which wouldn't be the most unhealthy thing. You know, let it pull back, find some support, print the candlestick in here, and then from there it can try to work its way back up to the upside. But if there is a downside, and they do have earnings, yes, Terry, thank you, they do have earnings next Wednesday, so there might be a potential for some sort of move before earnings, whether up or down. If it were to fill this gap before earnings, like fill this gap like the next couple of days, then we can, and base, maybe we can try to plot for an upside move. I think that they're gonna have to, you know, and Tesla's play for the past couple of quarters has been like a volume play. Let's get out as many cars as we can. Forget about making the most money that we can and squeezing customers. Let's just get out as many cars as we can. Why that's very smart for them is because each car that they have on the road is collecting data and making their algorithm smarter, making their self-driving cars more reliant and more reliable, right? So I think a lot of that is gonna come on conversation during their call. So we'll see. Personally, I want to see it fill this gap down. We have a nice clear target, 260, 248. Yeah, and then from there it can try to work its way back up. Next one is Netflix. Netflix is again stuck between the range of this candlestick here. We did retest the high, make a new high on this candlestick, but it kind of pulled back and went sideways. Now this can go any direction. We did form an inside bar on Friday. So we have the range of this candlestick. I guess we're stuck with green now. We have the range of this candlestick to break it to the upside, take it to 448, break downside, right? Break down Friday's price, test the low of Thursday's price. Underneath Thursday's price, we got 426.15. Underneath that, we got whatever this is, 422.89. And we got a small gap to fill into 417. So there's a nice potential play to the downside here if we do get the strong break. Now, we did put an inside day, which was towards the higher end of this candlestick, but all the sell pressure brought it down to form a lower open, lower close, lower high, lower low on this, or lower, whatever, right? Open and close, higher low, but open and close were lower than the previous open and close, and the high was lower than the previous the previous high. So, so what that tells you is that sellers are in control. Let's go to the 1 hour real quick. All this technical jargon and all this, you know, everything that we use to describe price, it ultimately comes down to who's in control, buyers or sellers. That's it. That's all it comes down to. So when I see price come down strong like this and retrace a little bit, right? We formed kind of a doji there. Price went sideways, tried to take out some of the highs of the day. We found some resistance where there was previous resistances back here, and fell hard on that move, hard on that move. There's a potential head and shoulders forming on Netflix on the 1 hour as well, right? We got the shoulder, head, shoulder. Neckline is that 786 fib at 431.98. So you can play into that, you know, break the low of day, play into that 786 fib. As your first target, next target would be the low of this pivot right here. And then below that, we got the 50%, and then we got these levels over here, 426.15, 422.89 for Netflix. Next one is else going on? Twilio, I'm not in love with it right now. Yeah, I'm not really in love with it right now. LRCX. I want to see LRCX holding at the 786 fib. Just hold exactly where it's at before it can work its way back up. You know, we had this 700 call lined up. We did get a nice move on Monday, but we didn't get the continuation for the week. You know, so maybe we bring this down to like 650 or something. We'll see, right? 650 is more feasible. 650, it can get to 650 in like a day if it wants to. These are probably like $2 or $1 and change something right now, so I don't think it's worth it. But I want to see it hold that 786 fib before it continues to the upside. If not, if it breaks down, ignore all these other lines. I would play it straight to that 593.98, 61% fib for LRCX. LRCX has earnings at the end of the month as well, on the 26th of whatever month we're in, 26th of July. Next one's Pinterest. Inside day. We have an inside day, so that's not bad. And it's also kind of a handle formed. We just zoom this down a little bit. Excuse me. We have this cup handle, sideways action. We got a trend-based fib above the high here. We can target 28.73, then 29.82. I needed to hold the low of day. Let's go to the 1 hour. Let it hold the low of day. From there, we can work our way up. Low of days on this level here. If we do break down, we have a nice quick move to the previous low at 27.16. Underneath that, we got 26.97. We do have lower highs forming on this right now, right? See these highs here, and then you got this high here, and then the highs are just progressively getting lower. The lows are also getting a little bit higher, so it's kind of forming a wedge. I'm not in love with how nasty and gnarly sellers have been ripping this back down right now, so I'll continue to watch it. There is a nice downside play. There's not a gap or anything. It's just there's a nice downside. You know, 1, 2, 3, 4 targets into that 26.65 from 27.45. So like $1 move, right? There's not much there. I like Pinterest, especially at this price point. I like Pinterest for a swing to the upside. And when I say swing, I mean like a two-week swing, a 4-day swing, something like that, right? Something that's going to pay a little bit more. So I'm not, one candlestick here is not going to be too impressive. So I would just watch it for a better setup to the upside. Costco, rising wedge breakdown, strong breakdown. On Costco, first target would be continuation there. Next target will be there. Next target will be there. I don't know if it does it, but if it does, if it starts to take some of these targets out, it can easily get back to, to this level here. China's consumer inflation rate eases to 0. So they have that news that DYT just posted on the trade floor is bullish for Chinese stocks. There was also something that she posted earlier about Chinese stocks easing on their signals and to tech crackdown. So they're gonna let tech do what it does for a season, right? They're very seasonal. They're gonna let them do whatever they want to do for 6 months, 3 months, whatever the case is, before you see news again in the future. And for now, their inflation is easing, which means there's a potential for Chinese tickers to give you a nice move to the upside. Now that their money's worth a little bit more, right? People are gonna spend some more money now. So that's good. So we'll be watching Chinese stocks this week. Let's see, Apple. There's not really anything Apple for me right now to talk about. Coinbase has a potential bull flag. Nice rip out of that wedge. Strong move, especially on this day. Kind of pulled back, retested the previous box, came back, and then put in the hammer that the rest of the market did. But I think that Coinbase has good strength. Above 80.85, we got 85.38. Above that pivot, we got 87.63. Similar setup as what we discussed last week, still intact. Again, I'll reiterate that my track record with Coinbase is not the strongest. So do not be so quick to just jump into any trade that I put out. But I would love it for it to hold, obviously, the 786 level where it has held already on this day. If it does fall down, let it come back to this level, bounce on it one more time, and then it can rip up to the upside. Very, very strong price action. You know, if we look at it on the, let's say, the 15-minute, yeah, so like that level, that 80, 85 level that we had set up as the previous high here, you know, rejected hard on this 15-minute candlestick, came back and formed a green candle that closed above it, right? And then we formed the doji on it, and then we formed another kind of doji on it, but a little bit weaker than the previous one, and then big, strong red candles to the downside. So, you know, this, I would have probably got, if I was like really, really bullish on this, and I wanted to get a nice entry, especially on a Friday, on a Friday, we would have been doing this. If it was a Monday, I would have probably called out something on this right here, on this play, on this candlestick. You got to let it form the candlestick that breaks through the resistance, form another candlestick here, and then form a continuation move, right? Don't be like me and try to get the risky early entry. Wait for the continuation move. Wait for another candlestick like this size to form right next to it and break out above the high here. And then you can play the 85s and the 87 calls or whatever the case is. But retake that 80-85 level, and there's some more upside. If we break down below this level here, we might be able to get to this level here. And then underneath that, we got the 786 fib at 74.27. So downside, upside, I would say, you know, really don't even touch it until it gets above that level. 83.15 seems like it's right about halfway into the two, from this line to this line to $85. Next one is, and I'm gonna make it quick as possible just because we're running out of time here. Snowflake, yeah, it's stuck between the fibs. So I wouldn't play it. I wouldn't really do anything with it right now until it breaks out above or below one of these fibs. You see, like above this fib, it can get back to that 183.46 level. There hasn't been any red candlesticks that really formed below this fib, so that would be nice for it to like give you a nice rip to the downside below that fib. And same thing below this fib, right? Back to 158.73. But right now, I wouldn't really touch it. D-Dog, it did try and broke out and gave us all new highs. And I bet you that was like the last 30-minute candle. Oh, no, it was the opening candlestick, and then it ripped down. So nice fake out candlestick on D-Dog. So let's see if it holds the low of day. And then if it does, then we can try to work our way back to the upside. And if it does break down below low of day, then we can try this. Where's my line? We could try this level here, right? Below low of day, take that level. Keep low of day. I'll give you some quick scalpy targets. These are your scalps. You know, these three levels here are your scalp targets. This can be your swing target for D-Dog. D-Dog, put a couple weeks on it. You know, I'm gonna call weeklies because I'm addicted to them, right? But just put a couple weeks on it, and you can see how quickly it'll get up to 106 or so. You know, just a couple weeks, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. They have earnings at the beginning of August, so there might be a potential run up there as well. RCL, beautiful flag here. Probably find a play for RCL this week, right? Just very clean bull flag. I guess right there's fine, whatever. Bring that down a little bit. Yeah, right there's fine. You know, strong move, consolidation, gap up, and then kind of sideways price action. Let's draw a quick fib on this. Swing low, swing high. Yeah, I mean, it just bounced off the 61% fib. It really needs to take over that 786. Above that 786, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 pivots to take out before it gets to like 105 or so, right? So potentially a clean move there. A higher day for the most part, higher highs, higher lows, highest opens and closes, all on this day, showing strength. Might be a continuation. Could get a nice rip to the upside if there's some good news in that industry. Delta. I want to see Delta above this or below this. If it goes below, it can target that level and then target that level. Obviously, if it goes above, it can go there, and then the final target will be $50. 50 for Delta. Delta is very, very nice. Delta is very nice. Strong move, resting bar, strong move, kind of a resting bar, maybe a strong move, maybe a strong move down. Who knows? So, but I like Delta. X, I don't think there's much going on with X this week. Yeah, I mean, there's a small little gap here if you want it. We'll see. I mean, if it, obviously take the high, first target, next target right there. And then we have the breakdown below the low of day. We can test the previous low of day, and then from there we can test. So it's not, I guess it's not the weakest setup. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Oh, what am I doing right now? Drawing trend lines. And then I'm just going to rip through the rest of these. Got that, and that. Those are your targets for X. UPS has a cup and handle. I want to see UPS take the high of day. It tested that previous high before, tested again. I want to see it break above that high, and then we do have this very nice gap to fill. I'm gonna go ahead and just borrow this bottom of this box, turn it into the top of the box. We do have that gap. That's my end game for UPS is to fill that gap. They have earnings middle of August, so we got some time. TSM, I'm not really in love with it, to be honest with you. I mean, there is filling this little gap here. It kind of filled it that day, Friday, but I'm not in love with the setup right now. Maybe tomorrow we'll find something better on it. Akamai kind of broke up above the trend. We do have a 100 call up. No, it was a 91 call or something, I believe, in a hotline that is going for this Friday. So good potential continuation depending on what happens towards the end of the beginning of the week. And semiconductors, I mean, there's not. It is at a place where it's clearly defined. Right, we got upside targets, downside targets. Right there, that's a nice one. So I would like for this to pull back a little bit more, but it might not. Too much strength. This thing on the weekly has just been absolutely ripping and forming all new highs, right? So I don't see it. I mean, it might give you the pullback, but it might not. But very, very clear price action on that. AMD looks like it wants to do one of these. It looks like it's forming an H. Right, it looks like it wants to do something like that. Revisit this point right here. So let's see what happens. We break down below the low of Friday. We got the low of Thursday, which is a nice, clearly defined target. Underneath that, we got this area of consolidation. Then we have this like final level before we can potentially bounce. Underneath that, I feel like we can slide pretty hard down to 95. But I don't think AMD will do it. But if it does, then it does, right? Amazon just needs to break out above this box that it's in right now. I don't want it down there. I'll just do it here. Amazon needs to break out above or below this box for it to catch my interest. It's going to be very tough to trade it within this box. If you look at the 30-minute, there's a potential inverse head and shoulders here. Not really. I mean, we have these highs here. Then we have the higher high that popped up on this day, and then we have kind of a lower high. It's not the cleanest because I mean there's not much going on. I just needed to get out of this range. It's not the most beautiful chart right now, especially on 30 minutes. So, but above that box we got that 136.49 that we can ultimately test. So very excited about that. Dropbox above. It hit our target of 27.21 last week. Above that we got 28.89. Dropbox might be another one that we end up putting a bunch of time on it. There's a lot with this sector, this technical services sector. DDOG, Zscaler, all these kind of names are very interesting right now. Let's see, Meta. Meta finally filled that gap on what day was this? Wednesday. It finally pushed through, and you know, now the gap is full. It might come back down to retest at 276.57. We do have a rising support level that actually goes back much further than that, where I just drew it. That if we break down, we can come back to that 264.57 to retest. But I mean, Meta, you know, we drew a move, a Fibonacci from here, you know, from 168.31 to here. We did find a pullback, found support on that 786 fib, and then it made a continuation move all the way to that 161.8 extension. So like a full fib move, right? A full-blown Fibonacci move. So now it might be time for it to rest before it looks for a new move. Now my final target is 322.25, or sorry, 322.50. We're very close to it. We can get to it very quickly. Let's see what Meta wants to do in the next couple of weeks. But I wouldn't be surprised if it breaks this trend and comes back down and retests the bottom of this box that's here. You know, within where this price has been confined the past couple of weeks for Meta. Now Meta does have threads that might serve as some sort of catalyst for it. It might not. I really don't know. I can't call it, to be honest with you. I think they released on Wednesday. And Wednesday they put in a massive green day. I think they released on Wednesday in the afternoon though, so it wasn't as a result of that. Maybe it was. Who knows? Who knows? But let's see. Tomorrow will tell. JP Morgan holding above where previous resistance was at 144.34. We have a nice little gap to the upside into the bottom of this price action here. Then we got the top of it there. And then we have a previous level way over here. So as long as it holds at 144.34 or 143.84 rather, this line here, I think we can go and retest some of these new highs. If it does break down, we got some of these targets where price can clearly bounce, as you see on this one. So, but I like it. I'm favoring it to the upside personally. We did Lulu. Starbucks looks like it wants to fill the gap to the downside. It did form kind of a doji on a red day, so that's going to be very interesting. I'll keep my eye on it, but I don't really see anything on it yet. CCJ, yeah, I mean, it's holding the 618. Let's see if it continues to hold that 618 level. If not, it can fall hard to that 50% fib. Microsoft, kind of stuck in between price between the last few days. I want to see it above or below, you know, above that 343.11, below 335.09. I wouldn't take anything else on Starbucks, on Microsoft. Cat is forming lower highs. These highs keep getting lower, but there was a very, very strong bounce in it on Friday. We did fully fill this gap a bunch, right? Price kind of bounced, came back, found a new resistance, came back and bounced on Friday. So I want to see it kind of take out. Microsoft is probably one of the better setups, you know, just because you have strength in it on a day where there's weakness in the market overall. If we can get up into that 257, there's a nice little gap above that. So and then I would just, if you want to take puts, I would just probably play it right into the low of day and then back into that 236.17. But there's not much going on there. I think that's it. Yeah, that's it. I'm gonna add some of these. These look nice. Just add some of these to my list. Thank you all for being here with me this Sunday. Yeah, I mean, what else is there to be said? You know, I think that going back to ES real quick, I think that this double top is very, very important to note. You know, strong move, indecision, pullback, strong move, indecision, pullback, higher low so far. The higher low gives me, you know, it's not gonna, it's a higher low for now, right? Tomorrow's another day. It can easily come down and break the low here and the low here, right? Now, if we pull back to this low at 44.0975 on ES, it wouldn't be the worst thing. It still would be a higher low. If we come back down here, then I think that we'll be in a tough spot, only because now we're in a channel. There is a small gap to fill below 43.27. I don't think that we're going to get to that point anytime soon, but we might. And one more thing I want to draw is this potential support level here. Let's go to 30-minute on ES. Yeah, I mean, it can come back to this level super quick. This I'm actually gonna get rid of. I'm gonna get rid of this line here. You know, it can come down to that 44.19, 44.09 is in one candlestick or two candlesticks, right? Two 30-minute candlesticks, and then we got that support sitting right there. Actually, I'm probably gonna redraw this support. Let's see. Redraw it. There. So nice move back into that support. I think that's possible for ES on the 30-minute, right? Strong move up, consolidation, just devilish consolidation, rip down, rip back up to retest it, and then failure, strong move down, bounce, rip up, strong move down, bounce again, like we did, or break down and bounce at the previous level, right? Or come back and bounce at support. So I would, if you want to take the downside play it into these levels. Otherwise, take an upside play that might form at this level here or this level here to work our way back up. But that's it, guys. Thank you so much for being here with me on a Sunday. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. Hopefully, we have some good volatility this week, which will pay us all week long. Very excited for this week. I'm actually out for the second half of the week. I'm going to be traveling. So we will not have a watch list call next week, and I'll go ahead and make an announcement in the group. But excited for Monday and Tuesday nonetheless. And I think that if we get a good trend, things can play out into the end of the week. So with that being said, thank you so much, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning.